Hey, welcome everybody. If you've been listening in the background, this is my first time with the support of my dear colleagues, Sherry and Lydia, and um, hosting a session and registered quality assurance professional GLP session. We're in this together, so we're here to discuss and learn from each other. And today we're going to talk about compliance assessment, monitoring, and what to monitor. Are we ready?
Yeah. And I put this in the chat, but I just want to introduce myself quickly. My name is Lydia Brunk. I'm the SQA staff member that manages the RQAP program. And I just want to be very clear that because I wear a lot of hats with the organization, I'm here as technical support and can answer logistical questions about the exam, but I'm not listening into the study group content and can't speak to the content of the exam or otherwise contribute to the study group.
Thanks. Thank you, Lydia. Now I can't advance my slides.
Let's see. You may need to minimize your Zoom and then click next within your window.
Let's
see.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on your screen, Deb?
I see your picture and I see the slide, the initial slide, the meeting plan.
Okay. Do you see a button to minimize the Zoom window?
Full screen, side by side speaker.
So right next to that view button, do you see a button to minimize the Zoom window?
There we go. Okay. Exam writing. All right. I'm ready to continue. Okay. Are you all still there?
Yes, we're all still here and I can see exam writing there.
Okay, sweet. Exam writing, we're going to discuss logistics, good to know and helpful hints. Exam writing logistics. This was new for me last week. And I thought a tremendous amount of time and effort has gone into helping all of us understand, and forgive me, my puppies are in the background, multiple choice. We have 160 multiple choice questions. 15 of them are not scored. 3.5 hours provided to take the exam. And believe it or not, about 1.25 minutes per question. I've never ever thought of taking an exam in this manner. This is incredible. For cost, special testing for candidates whom English is not their first language. The Society of Quality Assurance offers that for you all. And then the practice exam is now free, and we encourage you to take it. It's a practice exam, just to give you an idea of what you're about to sit for. So, any questions? Okay. The exam covers FDA GLPs, EPA GLPs, so Food and Drug Administration, Environmental Protection Agency, the OECD principles of GLP, and 21 CFR Part 11. When I sat for this exam back in 2005, I think one of the most important aspects and the guidance that I received from my colleagues when I was studying for the exam is to not just focus on FDA, EPA, focus on the universal approach, the regulations and the guidance documents. It provided me an incredible foundation for the exam, the exam that I sat for, because there was quite a bit of international in that series. So just an FYI, keep your scope broad and your horizon broad while you study for the exam. But yeah, be assured, as I have my Code of Federal Regulations booklet right in front of me. I refer to this all the time. This one has the 21 CFR Part 11, Part 58, 210 and 211, and Part 820. So yeah, there are a lot of resources out there, and as SQA has provided you all tremendous access to these resources. Read through all suggested material in the candidate handbook, very important. Know the regulations. The preambles were foundational to help me understand and others understand the expected interpretation of the applicable regulations. It lays that foundation for us all to understand how we ended up where we are at this time and how we will be moving forward in the future. Answer the questions based on the most conservative approach to what the regulations indicate. And this may differ from what you do at your company. Incredibly important to remember that. Focus on the regulations, the preambles, the guide, the OECD principles. And keep in mind, your SOP at your company might include an additional step or an additional procedure that's not required for the FDA, GLP, EPA, OECD, and Part 11. Very important to keep that in mind. There are a lot of questions, not a lot of extra time. Read through the question very carefully. If it looks really long or complicated, skip it and come back. It's interesting taking the exam and the processes. When I sat for it, it's like, oh, I've got to answer these before I go forward, and you don't have to. You can think about it, come back, watch your time. After the first hour, you're through 50, 55 questions, pace yourself. And unsure, guess. If unsure, guess. A wrong answer, it's the same. It's not the same as no answer. Let's see, I've got to move my screen. Is the same as no answer. Yeah, this is, everyone has their own approach for taking exam. Some look forward to taking exams. I'm not an exam taker. So this advice is incredibly important, folks. Watch for keywords. Let's see, I've got to move this out of the way. Keywords, these will help you assess what regulations you should be answering. So a protocol, for example, the FDA versus the EPA. Now the study plan, OECD, very important, very, very important. And if you participate in international studies as well as FDA, US studies, you'll see a mix of these terms in a study protocol or in a study plan. Study plan is the equivalent of a study protocol with the FDA. Control article, FDA, reference article, EPA, reference item, OECD GLP principles, reference to pesticides, EPA, multiple sites, OECD. Yeah, apply logic. Most questions have two answers that are clearly incorrect. Does that help you all? Okay. Study group meeting 2, compliance assessment, monitoring and what to monitor. Yeah, oh, okay. This is a beautifully developed training session. So monitoring and what to monitor: receipt, handling, storage, preparation, including how you mix, the analysis or administration to the test system of the test control and reference material, the test system receipt, non-human primates, how are the non-human primates received, quarantine, randomization, allocation, identification, acclimation, observations, and disposition. Yeah, very, very important. For those that work with non-human primates, animal models, keep in mind, you've got the USDA, you've got the IACUC. These are things you must keep in mind. Specimen or sample collection, labeling, storage, shipping, receiving, handling, or disposition. These are all procedures, steps that we must help monitor to ensure a successful outcome. Specimen or sample analysis. Sit down and watch how a specimen is analyzed, what is being done. Are they using a flow cytometer? Reagent and supply shipping, receiving, handling, storage, and disposition. Adherence of procedures specified in the protocol, study plan, OECD, SOPs, applicable company policies, data collection processes, data integrity, manual, as well as automated data collection systems. Equipment maintenance, calibration, and validation. It's very critical. If your equipment is not working properly and you don't know this, you don't know how it's going to affect the outcome of the study or even the animal models that you are using for the study. Archive of test article facility, archive of the test article, the facility and study materials, including disaster recovery and the appropriateness of raw data for archival storage, retrieval, and disposition. Laboratory, facility, and/or site activities that support GLP studies and OECD GLP studies. And EPA. GLP study group meeting 2. Discussion, questions for discussion. We're going to use a polling system and then open Q&A sessions. This is a lot to think about, folks. And we're here to help you in any way that we possibly can that we're reviewing today. We are here together to learn from each other, to help each other out. But as I mentioned, there's a lot. So ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Question.
go
Is
ahead.
this where we switch, Lydia?
Well, if you'd like me to, it sounds like I need to run the polls. So let me know when you're ready for me to launch the question for question 1.
Okay. So the question for question 1, for specimen labeling, what should be included on the labels? All right. I'm ready. Yep. Thanks. So we have a few minutes. Please.
So
Last week when I sat in on, Sherry was hosting this. Sorry, Sherry. It was incredible. The responses, the participation, and we learned from each other during this entire process. So I hope you feel comfortable participating. Sherry.
So all the quiz questions we're going to launch today are open-ended questions so we can get some dialogue. So these are study groups. It's not a training session. We're not here to train you about anything. You need to do your own independent studying for the exam, whether you're actually writing the exam in March or whether you're just here to check it out and maybe write it in the fall. Everybody's welcome. But this is a study group. So the more you put in, the more questions you ask, the more questions you discuss, the more input you have, the more we all learn from each other. So this is, you get what you put in. So if everyone just sits there passively and doesn't say anything, we're not going to learn from each other, because Deb and I are not here to like tell you all the information, because there's really no, without knowing, unless we knew the exact specific questions, there's no way to train you specifically. It's not a training, it's a study. So think back when you were in university, college, whatever, how it was to study. So the purpose of the study group is, let's share our ideas, make sure that we understand things, make sure we take different perspectives of like, oh, what to consider and what, etc. All right. So with that, we hope you participate in our polls. And the polls, we're not here to look at who has the right answer. We're just here to look at what, the members who are on today's call, what they're looking, what their understanding is. And then we can go through it and we can, take a look at like, okay, why would someone think that this should be there, or why would that not be there, or etc. it's not to poke at anyone's right or wrong answers. It's to just discuss. And so we can all make sure that we're well informed to hopefully answer the questions right and pass the quiz or the test.
Oh, this is awesome. 9. I think we're ready. We're ready to move on. What do you think, folks? Oh, not quite yet. This is great. Thank you. Hi. Thanks, Sherry.
All right, Lydia, let's pull the plug on this one and we'll just review the answers and hopefully get some discussion. Then we'll jump into the next one.
Lydia here.
Oh, Lydia dropped off somehow. Okay, let me see if I can share. It says I'm sharing, but I don't know how I'm sharing. Sorry, folks, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Oh, there we go. Nope, it says to stop sharing, but I don't. Okay, let me see if Lydia's back on. She is not.
Should I stop sharing my screen?
No, it's okay. I can't figure out how to. It says that I have the results, but okay, hold. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, show results. Okay, view results. Okay, I do not know. The poll is not working without Lydia here. Let's see if she.
Well, would folks like to offer verbally what they?
Yeah, maybe if anybody's willing to share you can type it in the chat or unmute yourself and voice your opinion while we try and figure out the logistics.
I can go. The nature of the study, the collection date, the study number, and the test system. And I usually work with EPA GLPs.
Great, thanks for sharing that, because sometimes the regs do influence the answers. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
We've got test system, study, nature, and date of collection.
Yes, that's
All
right
right.
out of the regulations 58.130C. Conduct of a non-clinical laboratory study. Did anyone have anything slightly different than this that they shared with us in the poll? Chat.
So someone had storage conditions. storage conditions. So yes, it would logically seem that storage conditions should be there, and that is definitely a good answer. That is not specifically stipulated in the regulation. So again, everything that we're doing with these questions is to prompt you to think of what's in the regulations, because that will be the correct answer when you take that exam. The reason being, and that's why, as Deb had said when she was introducing it, your company practices probably have additional requirements, which again make very logical sense. You want to know the storage conditions, right? You don't want to just leave like frozen samples just lying around on the bench and thawing and stuff. So you absolutely want to have that. But when we're looking at these questions, that's where you go like back to the strictest sense of the regulations. What do the regs explicitly state? Not necessarily what's good practice. All right,
Mhm.
but thank you all. You guys, so we covered that one. And so Deb, we can maybe move on, and I will try and finish it, and hopefully we can get results
Okay.
for this one.
Okay, question 2. Okay. A technician has received 200 vials of test article. I have to move my thing here. Oh, sorry. The vials are labeled with the test article identity only. Before storing these vials, the technician generates a label with the test article identity, chemical code number, batch number, expiration date, and appropriate storage conditions. They place the label on the side of an open top tote, okay, where all the vials are placed inside and the whole tote is stored. Did the technician ensure compliance with 21 CFR Part 58 and OCD principles? Why or why not? So 200 vials, and they place the label on the side of an open top tote where all the vials are placed inside and the whole tote is stored. What do you all think? And the poll is open.
You can either put your responses in the poll or you can put it in the chat. And Lydia sent an email. There was a sudden power outage at the office. So she was checking in to see if someone who was working from home, if they can dial in.
Wow. You just never know, honest to
Yep.
goodness. My mother would say right now, one day at a time.
Absolutely.
So, but think about this. Think about it from a practical perspective. The number of vials that you're handling, and you place them all in a tote, and the tote has a label on it.
Yeah. So if anyone's doesn't necessarily want to answer in the poll because they don't know if we're going to be able to view the poll results, you can start putting in the chat either yes or no if you felt it was compliant, and then why do you think, why did you answer yes or why did you answer no? All right, we got some answers coming in the chat. I'll read those out, Deb. So I think no, because I believe the regs say each container, but I usually do EPA GLP, so I could be off for FDA. We got another response. Information shall be on the container or accompanying the container in a manner that precludes error. Open top tote is concerning for storage. No, the individual vials should be properly labeled to ensure proper identification throughout distribution use. No, not compliant. No tracking of each unique vial. No, each specimen should have its own unique identifier. No, all right. So I think the majority of us have agreed that it is no, and all of you who provided reasons, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Right? There's a whole bunch of vials. It's great for the one location when they're in the storage, but as soon as someone takes one of those vials out, who knows what that vial is, right? Once those vials get moved to somewhere else, then we don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that would-
and the answer in the slide that Sherry shared, no, individual vials were not labeled, and the individual vials do not have any sort of identification linking them to the labeled bag. That was at the end of the slide. Yeah. So yeah, common sense. Yeah. Thank you. Excellent answers. Thank you very much. Okay. Next one.
Yeah.
Are we good? Okay. Let's see here. Oh, we're going in between here. Are there differences in focus for critical phase? Okay, keep the language in mind. Are there differences in focus for critical phase / study-based inspections versus process-based inspections? Okay. If so, what do you look at in each type? What driving documents are you more focused on in each type? And what about facility audits? Okay. We're using the chat, correct, Sherry?
Yeah, you can go. I'm just launching the poll so people can see it, but yeah, don't bother with the polls anymore. Actually, I'll just end it and just put it in the chat. It's easier because I don't know where the sharing is going. And yeah, you can, you can start just by like answering the first question and answering the second, or answer any questions that you want. Again, these are not to necessarily just have, here's a question, here's an answer, move on to the next one. It's to get you thinking about it, and so you kind of know potentially if you had a multiple choice, what type of answer you'd be looking for. So we do have our first answer here. So process-based inspections are more fit for activities which are equal or very similar through studies. That's absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of the process-based is for activities that are repetitive nature, right? That's what you want to do for process-based inspection. So if you have a study that is has a very unique surgery, you probably are not going to watch that as a process-based audit. You're going to want to see that as a study-based audit. So critical phase study audits will focus on study documents and compliance with the contract, statement of work, and relevant study plans. Process-based would focus on SOPs and if process is being followed and is working well. Facility audits would include pest control, facility control, etc. Excellent. That's
Excellent
answer. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And absolutely. So this question was formulated to get you thinking about the three types of audits that QA does, and what the goal of those three different types of audits are. So excellent. Thanks for those of you who responded. Is there anyone else who wants to add anything? Or if you have questions too, feel free to ask your question. Like if you're not really clear on something, now's the time to ask. We can't guarantee that we will know the answer. We're not the regulations themselves, but we can certainly will help. All right, we got another answer. Study-based inspections focus on compliance to specific protocol study plan. Process-based and facility audits focus on compliance to internal SOPs. Great. Can you please give an example of process-based inspections? Oh, thanks, Donna. Does anybody want to chime in with that before I answer? I bet you guys, a lot of you.
Hi, Sherry, it's Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Process-based inspection is, for example, body weights or dosing, watching formulation prep, sample receipt, animal receipt, something like that.
Absolutely. So
Absolutely.
the basis of a process is something that is repetitive in nature. So it doesn't matter what, food consumption, whatever study type is being done, whether it's a short-term study, a long-term study with rats or dogs or whatever, the overall technique of doing that is essentially the same. So you're, if you think of a 2-year CARSO, do you want to go in and see like a weekly body weight? No, because it's the same thing over and over. They put the rats on the rack, they measure it, they make sure it's calibrated, all the standard stuff. So you're going in there to make sure the process, that the technicians know what they're doing, the SOP is being followed correctly, and the SOP accurately describes what they're supposed to, right? They're supposed to follow the SOP, but we know sometimes processes evolve and the SOPs don't always get updated to follow. So that's what you're looking at in your process based. That's a great question.
Mhm.
All right.
Would you like me to read the answer that was at the end of the slide? Oh, okay. So, yes, critical study-based inspections are focusing on activities that are deemed to be critical in nature or non-routine. The focus is primarily on the study driving protocol, the study plan, as well as SOPs. And then this is addressed in the GLP regulations, and it's important for you as students preparing for your exam. And the other resource that was used to help develop this question was OEC Guidance Document 23, inspection of activities which are directly linked to the conduct of specific study or studies. So this, as you study for your exam, the GLP regs and the OEC Guidance Document 23. Okay.
Great.
All right. You ready for the next question?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Thanks, everybody. This is wonderful. And I'm so glad that we figured this out together. And I feel bad for Lydia in the office. Really bad. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Question number 4. At study completion, study materials are to be archived. This was always an important question for me back in the day and as of a year ago. When should this occur? What study material should be archived? Okay. Who is responsible for ensuring study material is archived? And who is responsible for ensuring non-study material is archived? Yeah. There's a very long answer to this question. There's a lot being said in this one question, but break it down. Study related, responsibility for study material, and responsibility for non-study material, and the whole archiving process. Okay.
Now, I will tell you, the quiz questions on the actual exam is not going to be like a 4-part series. It's going to be, it's not going to be that. Again, these are questions to induce conversation and to get you looking at different aspects. But what you will see is, a situation with 4 examples of what's the right approach, or, a statement, and then, 4 responses as to, what should be done, or what is it. So it is a 1-part question in the actual exam. So don't stress that but sometimes those situations can be wordy, right? It's explaining like you're doing an inspection in the vivarium, and it is an ocular study, and the technician starts chatting with you, telling you how they're exhausted because their 2 kids have been home all week from school because they had pink eye, and and the conversation and they set you up for the situation, and then it'll say like, as QA, what should you do? And then it'll give you 4 different options. That's how the question will be. It's not going to be a 5-part, intricate, detective type scenario, but certainly just to let you know. So if you're worried, like, oh my God, these are really the quiz questions, these are not representative of the exam questions. In fact, we're not, that's why they're open-ended questions to have discussion. We're not actually allowed to present multiple choice because we don't want to mislead you that this is an exam type question, or potentially have a question exactly like that is in the exam. So
yeah.
All right, so we've got some responses. At the time of the study At the time of study completion, all study material should be archived, electronic raw data, specimens, etc. The study director is responsible for ensuring all study materials have been archived. Excellent. Archive should happen just after signature of the final report. Study material should be archived before or on the same day that study director signs the final report. Protocols, supporting documentation, raw data, and final report must be archived. Basically, anything that is used to reconstruct the study. Non-study materials, I don't know, maybe TFM since they approved the archiving SOPs. Study materials are to be submitted to archive as soon as all documents have been prepared for archival. The SD must sign on the archive submission. What would be considered non-study material? Just to answer that question, so non-study material would be training records, maintenance of your cage washer machine, computer validation of the software being used, daily maintenance logs for your equipment used in your clinical path. So that would be non-study material, right? Because it's support material, but it's still things that may be looked at during an inspection. Before finalization, archiving, data, paper, electronic data specimens, SD and archivist responsibility, archivist in each related department for non-study. At or before final report signing, all raw data documentation, protocols, final reports and specimen, study material, study director, non-study material is TFM. Study plan, amendments, reports, all study, raw data, all relevant communication, test article samples, specimens. All right, we've got a lot of great responses.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful.
All right, Deb, do you want to share the?
Sure.
Promo?
The answer for number 4, expectations are that the material is archived at the signing of the final report. Study materials include all data, both manual and electronic, final reports, archive sample of the test article, quote unquote, test item, control article, quote unquote, control item, and reference article as required. Residual samples, if required by protocol/study plan, organs and tissues collected at necropsy, protocol/study plan and amendments, study communications, very critical, between the study director and principal investigators, and between the study director and sponsor. Reconstructing the study, the communications are vitally important. Study director is responsible for ensuring all study material is archived, single point of control, and then testing facility management, as you all stated, is responsible for ensuring non-study specific material is archived as required. Excellent, thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Okay.
Based on regulations, it seems like study director is also responsible for facility records. Not specifically. Under FDA, there's actually no specific call out for the archiving of non-study material. Under OECD, there is. So that's one of those subtle differences between the FDA. And when I say FDA, it's typically EPA, because EPA has marginally very subtle differences from FDA. And I don't have EPA in my handy regs. I only have OECD and FDA. So it's easier to just talk to those two. But there isn't a specific call out in the FDA GLPs about non-study, because it just says all raw data documentation, protocols, final reports, and specimens generated as a result of a non-clinical laboratory study shall be retained. So it's, from the FDA perspective, they're always looking at the study itself as a whole. Under OECD, they do stipulate, they do talk about the other requirement of what, in terms of what needs to be archived. So records of all inspections performed by the QA program, as well as master schedules. And this is under section 10.1. Records of qualifications, training experience, job descriptions of personnel, records and reports of the maintenance and calibration of apparatus, validation documentation for computerized systems. So OECD specifically calls out all those support. Now, it doesn't mean in FDA that you're not archiving it, because we all know we're doing it. It's good practice. It's standard and it's an expectation, because who wants to go through someone's drawer to pull out an equipment record from like 5 years ago when the FDA comes knocking, right? So that's not the reality, but non-study material would be test facility management's responsibility. So they would probably designate, you know, supervisory or applicable people in each area to make sure the records are, but ultimately that rolls up as test facility management's responsibility. SQA does not have the mini handbooks, but there is a, I don't know, you'd have to, I don't know, they wouldn't have a link. I don't know if anybody knows of anywhere, like mine is really, really old. I have an even older one that actually does have OECD, FDA, and the EPAs, but that's from eons ago. No one really offers them.
Yeah, they're not that expensive. When I was teaching at university and obviously teaching at work, the mini handbooks, Code of Federal Regulations, yeah, I purchased these for the students. They're very, they're current information, as current as possible. But yeah, you can go online and this was under GMP Publications. This is where I purchased it, from GMP Publications, Code of Federal Regulations mini handbooks. Incredible resource.
Yeah, Nicole just posted the link, so if anybody wants to get that, so you can order online. Perfect. Okay. But they are available, and if you look at the material, so if you go to the SQA website, look under the RQAP, go check the candidate handbook, and it has also the candidate materials, and there is a wonderful document that has a compare document of OECD, FDA, and the 2 EPA regulations. So definitely highly take a look at that one, especially to see the different nuances of the subtle differences. I would say, you know, the core of the regulations are all the same. Those little subtle differences you will see, it'll be very clear in that document. So
yeah, with international sponsors, you know, when the contract is coming through for potential study, and the term study plan, it's like, okay, not study protocol, study plan. So that's kind of an FYI that we're working with our colleague overseas. So yeah, those are those important nuances that are valuable to be aware of.
absolutely.
Okay.
I'll launch the last question because I'm going to be jumping off any minute.
Okay. Last question. An auditor goes to conduct a process-based audit of bioanalytical analysis of plasma samples. While in the bioanalytical analytical lab, what should the auditor focus on? What type of records or documents may be something that is used and or verified? Yeah, great question. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we already got I'll read out some of the answers that we have so far. So focus on the procedure that is followed as per SOP and BMP, which I'm going to assume is bioanalytical method plan. Laboratory method and protocol study plan that must be followed for study. SOPs and equipment logs. BMP laboratory method. Lab method. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Navia. Verify the methods used are according to SOP, verify equipment records, observe the technician process sample. Excellent. CM records, usage logs, sample management, processes, validation of method and run fail along with QC process for data. It's supposed to be data. Focus on following the SOP and compliance to regulations, including good documentation. Ooh, someone got one in the training record too, and competency. Yeah. So again,
Yes.
this is a process-based audit. So you're a little less focused on the protocol or study plan. You want to focus on the activity itself, not whether it's supposed to be done that week. I mean, many companies, when they're doing their process audits, they will take the time to look at protocol or a study plan requirements as well. But when you're process-based, you're focusing on the process. That's hence the name, right? So you want to focus that you're looking at the SOP, that the tech is following the SOP and that the SOP is still current. You want to look at, the equipment records because you're looking at the process, right? It's a great opportunity to look at equipment records or spot check the training of that individual if they're trained to do what they're doing. So again, you want to look at the activity as a process, like whether your facility is functioning properly when they do these activities versus is that study being conducted correctly. Okay.
Yeah. And the answer, may I read the answer?
Please do. Deb, I am going to hop off now. You've done fantastic. Great job this week. And good luck to all of you. And I will hopefully see many of you on next week.
Thank
Ciao.
you so much, Sherry. Take care. Bye. The answer to question 5, focus on the SOP, as you all stated, that the process is being followed. Now, remember, protocol or study plan may also be used to confirm any study-specific information. So keep that in mind. Evaluate the procedure that they are performing as per SOP, dilution of samples. Check equipment stickers for calibration maintenance. Check actual documentation of the equipment, calibration, and maintenance. So you've got the stickers, as you all know, most equipment, but there's also the actual, very important to check the documentation of the calibration maintenance as well as that piece of equipment. Check labeling of reagents and solutions. Check preparation records of solutions, and check that nothing is expired. Check the training record of the analyst. Check that they are signed off for GLP training and activities they are conducting. So you've got a process-based inspection. This facility conducts GLP studies. This is not a GLP study or inspection necessarily, but this analyst, it's always good to keep an open mind, and if the facility is conducting GLP studies, assure that or recommend that this individual also have GLP training on file. Check personnel are wearing appropriate PPE. This is very important. Check SOPs or methods are approved by management as appropriate. So yeah, a lot for process-based. And as I mentioned, laboratories that I've worked at they conduct non-GLP and GLP, and the staff in both cases, the staff that are conducting non-GLP studies also participate in GLP studies. So be very, very aware of that overlap of roles and responsibilities. Process-based inspection, study-based inspections. Yeah, just keep an open mind when you step in and you're about to perform an inspection and what your focus is and that holistic approach. And it maybe for that process-based inspection, it's not necessarily a finding, but it could be a recommendation going forward that so-and-so perhaps consider providing GLP training for this individual because he or she does support GLP studies, but I don't see the GLP training on file in his or her record. These are things to keep in mind and recommendations that you as an auditor can make to this management as well as definitely testing facility management for non-GLP studies, non-process-based inspection. But for GLP studies as well, keep the study directors informed. Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much. any questions? And as always, I've learned so much from all of you, and we're here for you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. And I wish you the best. We're, like I said, we're here for you. You need anything, holler. I cherish my credential since 2006. I've kept it current. Yeah, I cherish it. And it's opened up many doors for me. Registered Quality Assurance and GLP. So yeah, I have a lot of stories I could share with you all, but another day. So, okay. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.